So, did I mix up things on that last video? I think many of you who probably saw my thoughts on One More Flag in the Ground could see exactly what I'm speaking of. I think I misread, because I'm running by, as I consider what tracks to cover in order by The Awakening, I'm looking at my iTunes page, and I guess my eyes read over the wrong song, and that I attributed Tina Guo's collaborative talents to One More Flag in the Ground incorrectly, where she's featured on the next two works. So I was preparing a speech in advance. I'm going to have to add something in that video to clarify, because I'm probably going to confuse people otherwise if I don't. But now we get an introduction for Tina Guo's talents. Okay, so One More Flag, that's just funny. Hey, I am a bit of a perfectionist, so I guess it hits a bit harder when I'm not, when I make such a glaring mistake as that. But to correct the record, I don't believe she was part of One More Flag in the Ground, which still is an exquisite Kamelot piece. I'm really enjoying the ride I'm taking with you in part, again, as to what I've promised you, a coverage of The Awakening, which I've been meaning to for a while again with Kamelot. They've been a name I've heard for a long time, and in the power metal scene with a definite symphonic flair, in my opinion, I'm having a great time with them. 3 tracks in, I've been beautifully entertained, as much as I was with The Shadow Theory upon listening to that album in its entirety, covering 3 of the works with you. I was generally enamored by the art of what Kamelot offers, and with The Awakening has been no different. I've loved all 3 pieces we've heard thus far, even if, again, I overanalyzed One More Flag in the Ground with incorrect attributions where Tina Guo appears here. So whatever I mentioned in that video on part of that musical key choice, maybe it was either Tommy's vocals or an instrumental use that was just highly modulated. It wasn't the erhu or the cello, as I understand. Again, Tina Guo is known for as an American Chinese-born cellist, primarily. But I'm really curious to hear again. I don't know if we're going to see in Kamelot's vision here, if we're going to see an appearance of the erhu. I'd love to get a taste for it. It sounds like a beautiful instrument from the video I listened to with it. Just to credit that one as well, just so I don't forget to attribute it correctly, that was the Ballad of North Annan Province video I just found on YouTube in passing, to try and gauge what does an erhu sound like. If I'm pronouncing that wrong, by the way, feel free to clarify down below. I wonder if that'll be integrated or if it's just on the cello work. Either way, though, I'm curious. I can't wait to hear more on behalf of Tina Guo. I've enjoyed, well, now to actually hear her. I will never live that down, apparently, I guess. I'm sure many of you will remember that. The time I got the attribution for a collaboration mixed ahead of time. Anywho, let's continue our journey for The Awakening together. Especially in regards to a first consultation, I do hope there are a number of you that approach from that dynamic. Again, I know a number of you won't be, given that Kamelot has been a frequent request on behalf of recommendations supplied by a number of you, as I deepen my understanding with the European affiliated, because they're connected to Napalm Records, rock and metal territory, of the landscape of artists that are very notable out there, but for example, like with Kamelot, many years. But I hope for some of you that you're approaching on a first-name basis with them, and maybe you were like me, where I started with The Shadow Theory, and you're just entertaining their work. I think you're going to be thrilled if you're a rock or metal guy or girl. I think you're going to love it. And if you're really into like your music, or just good art with a defined, expansive vision, and in true mastery, at least on sound and individual quality, I think you're going to really like this. So, Opus of the Night. I'm going to go ahead and cue up the lyric video that came alongside the piece. So, I will be able to get this video up to you a little faster than some of the other works, where I don't mind doing this. I like being able to give you complete takes, and many of you know who have consulted my music coverage before, but I offer the lyrics directly in the video feeds. And I usually have to manually input those. We have an exception here, so I appreciate that. Anyway, here we go. Opus of the Night. More Kamelot. I've been excited to take this journey with you, and I'm making good on my promise, and I'm loving every minute of it. That sounds like the defined cello work. Oh, man. 4 pieces so far of heavy agitation. And with that string work, I get Apocalyptica vibes. That's so good. Woo! Great so far. This piece is real imagination. So far, at least on introduction alone, is my favorite. And all the pieces have been great, but this one, wow. The pace and the vocals matched up again, that background string work and the harder riffs. This really is my favorite piece. Everything here is clicking. Especially the inflection raises. Works so well. Very atmospheric.
Trembling steps into a world she had forgotten. Dusty roses on a royal velvet seat. And the letter in her name brings her back again. Familiar the notes upon the sheet. I've waited long for the days. Lose me, take me away.
I love when I can't tell with the faintness of the sound if it's strings or vocals. There's that confusion. Oh, it's so good. I love it. Man. I'm so glad they brought Tina into the album. I love getting an introduction for her with you. I love that the collaborative model can do that. And the choir foundation's another wonderful element to mix in. Like I said, explicit symphonic flair. Man. I'm just taking every minute in of this. We still have another minute to go. We're over a minute. I find that delightful. Slow down already? Okay. Good finish. Now that I reflect on it. And let the strings drift us out. so subtly. Every second of that is mesmeric. Wow, man. You know, I love music as an art form. It's so powerful. My word. And you know, I always regard... Sorry, I'm still getting over how good it is. You know, as I've said many times, I love the collaborative model on what can be produced in the territory of first introductions. And you have the honor of perhaps witnessing Tina Guo with me as a first introduction. That was excellent. The strings used. Man, I love strings. You know, I think of other recent additions to this channel on part of fresh appearances being, let's say, you know, Rusanda Panvili, Austrian string artist, or violin player, I believe. And that was on part of the Dark Side of the Moon, another collaboration, you know, hence, again, the honor I have for this type of model. I love being able to just sit back and be introduced in such a unique way to people who I've never been graced with before. I'll have to look into what Tina Guo's done, because I'd be so curious to hear her strings application in other places. That was beautiful. On pacing, especially as the introduction to the work, begin on a subtle note. You're like, okay, smooth origin here, and then immediately launch into that harder riff basis so the KAMELOT has established themselves as a core identity of this album, and as, you know, them as a band in their vision. Man, but the pacing, the strings integration, and the mobility, the variance, the shirking away from expectancy, trying out some unusual patterns, quick, just swift brushes of movement. Just, oh man, that song just, it sits in so well. And when I look back on the lyrics, I did immediately get lost in the song. I did. But oh man, I love the way it was established, like the chorus. The details I picked out, especially as the evolution to the piece as we proceed. Rise to the queen of a symphony, watch her step into the light, surrender your heart to the melody, let it take flight, she'll sing you into the opus of the night. It's just beautiful. It has, like, you know, I've said before in every coverage I've offered here, I come from an 18-year dance background of various styles, including some of the stuff along the softer lines. Notably jazz. I've done a small semblance of ballet. It wasn't my preferred expression. I was much more a contemporary lyrical type person, more interpretive, at least on a softer territory. Something more free-flowing. Modern as well. I like modern dance. I've done a good variety of numbers, again, like I said, on scale and energy delivery, but I really enjoy the softer tones. This reminds me of being on stage for some of the numbers that I had the honor to perform, maybe with a group or maybe by myself on small occasion, more so with a group. But it just has that type of energy that just carries you. And you start, if you come again from such an extensive dance history, you start to mentally start choreographing in the back of your mind, you know, what a dance could look like. And the chorus does evoke that tone. Even if, again, maybe I haven't analyzed every detail of the song and lyrical focus on every measure of it, but it just has that presence, especially on the ending too, and the wrap up. One last encore for the queen of the stage. I mean, it's kind of direct, at least in performance, but it just comes across that way. Oh, and vision, I love it. So again, many of you I'm sure will forgive me if again I got the attribution originally incorrect with Tina Guo. Again, I will never be able to live that down for myself. Like, you know, again, I try and be a little more informed when I consider a work and how I approach it and be like, okay, I'm giving a correct take. So when I misstep, it sits a bit harder than in other cases. If maybe it's a small grievance, in that case, well, it's pretty major. I attributed her to the wrong piece. I hadn't heard her yet, obviously. First introductions, wow. Opus of the Night, my favorite of the album. And it's been good so far. On every track. This is only the 5th one in, out of 13. It's beautiful. It is my favorite on personality. It's so specified. I love strings music. I love stuff with symphonic flair. And this is so dominant in that respect. I loved it. And it's not just the first entrance we're going to get with Tina Guo. We got another one through the next track, Midsummer's Eve. Oh, I can't wait to hear more. What are your guys' thoughts with that? And if that was your first introduction as well, I hope this is the case for some of you, not just to KAMELOT. I know many of you, again, are approaching on a knowledgeable basis, and maybe some of you to the same respect as well with Tina Guo. But maybe you're like me, and that was your first introduction. Or maybe you're still early in your days of Camelot as well. Maybe that was your first introduction too. I'd love to hear your thoughts down below. If you wish to disclose your perspective, I'd love to hear your feedback. As I said, I can't sum it up better. It's an easy repeat listen. Favorite piece on the album. By far. By far. It's so good. Strings and anything that emboldens that symphonic flair with such creativity, automatically, just I shower that work with praise. I can't speak in a greater reverence of it. It's such a moving number on music. This is why I've said this expression before in cases of other artists, but you know, there are just some tunes that deliver this regard. This is why I brought music onto the channel as a preferred art form of expression that I've wanted to bring on for a long time. And, you know, I like people to speak about art generally, you know, in consideration of everything I've spotlighted with a positivity. And I love when I can shower work with praise, when it deserves such reverence. And Camelot does, broadly speaking from what I've had. And it's been a pleasure to entertain the awakening of you as it evolves thus far. Opus of the Night is just so exemplary. I love that number. So perfect. Loved it. Every second I want to take it in again. Thank you so much for watching this video. Before you bounce, feel free to drop a like and comment, subscribe to this channel with a ding on the bell, and share this video with your friends. And consider checking out the description here. There you'll find links to my other channels, as well as addresses to my other social media accounts and ways you can help support my work if you feel so inclined. May God bless you, and looking forward to when our paths cross again.